to rise so that we just stretch for a minute. I will make sure I don't take too long as I speak. Yeah, just get your hands out, back, front. Yeah, good, and then twist. Just land on the spot. Thank you very much. Let's sit down. I'm sure we are awake now because, of course, we've been here for a bit long. I will just mention a few of the protocols, and the rest you allow me to stand on protocols that have been observed. But let me recognize that my PS, Joel Arumonyang, is here with his entire teams that are working on this matter or this subject. Yeah. You, okay. I think we normally like it a little far away from my, is it mouth or face? Then I will also, the Principal Secretary Public Works. Then allow me to recognize our guest, Susan Mangeni. Mheshimiwa Susan Mangeni is the Principal Secretary of the Hasura people. The Hasura people. And you know the Hasura people are the ones managing this country. And therefore MSMEs is a very critical sector, she has told us, and we know they were quite a critical tool for our campaigns. And I know Susan was engaged in a very robustly. Let me further recognize the Deputy Governor, Mombasa County, our host, and I know he's here on his own behalf and on behalf of the Governor, Mombasa County. We have another very key guest that I need to recognize, and as well as a speaker, Senator Asigi, my younger sister. Karibu sana. I think the country knows you now. Is that so? Are we speaking the same? Yes, I really appreciate your presentation. It was quite deep, and you have brought out very many issues that interact with us daily. Some of them we are obliged to, and I think highlighting and speaking to them helps in the inclusivity discussion. Then we have various presidents and chairpersons of the people who are here, including distinguished participants. Feel very much welcome as the chief guest, but also the cabinet secretary in this ministry. The ministry is Lands, Public Works, Housing and Urban Development. Susan, I will forgive you because even me, I took time. I used to interchange those the way they are arranged there, but now I know it's Lands, Public Works, Housing and Urban Development. I think it's the longest. We have 3 state departments. So, dear participants, we have this morning listened to several presentations, and I want to say that I have an idea because I have seen the program of what went in the morning and what will go on in the afternoon and the next 2 days. And I am privileged myself as a cabinet secretary to be the chief guest and to speak here this morning, this afternoon. And therefore, allow me, I will make 1 or 2 very short remarks off the cuff because I have a written speech. Sometimes it's better because the mic can be very tempting. And therefore, allow me to go straight into my written speech. But I want to say that I like the theme, leveraging on MSMEs and technology. I was looking at it and wondering whether Susan had not seen my team in advance, because you see we are discussing MSMEs, which is her sector, but of course we have technology and how we can work to support, to be supported and to have it resilient and of course sustainable. Sustainability is a problem in this country and elsewhere in development. And when you work without thinking about sustainability, then your projects or your programs collapse at the end of it all, notwithstanding the investment. I know I'm speaking to my colleagues, professionals, you know, in different sectors, but mainly now today, we are calling ourselves people in the construction industry or in construction sector. And I'm glad to note that we are getting women on board. When we were in the holding room, we discussed that and we will come up with a strategy to have more women, persons living with disability and youth in the sector, and especially the big construction contracts. The big contracts should also go to women, youth, and persons living with disability. There is a lot of money, not necessarily small money, in the construction industry, and we are the people who move this industry. And therefore, NCA, of course, being our regulator, is a critical organization or agency. And I want to commend my principal secretary and his CEO, Maurice Akech, for ensuring that this conference takes place. I know we have partners who have enabled us reach where we are. And this being the fifth, it's a lot of work. And I like the fact that you put it not annually, every 2 years. And maybe I think going that forward, that is still maybe the way we should leave it. But to bring this kind of number in a conference is not easy. But I also want to hope that we are not here because of gaining the points. You know, I've been a lawyer in practice, and you cannot get your annual certificate without securing points. So I know that the subjects that we are discussing are very key and very interesting, and will help in development of the professionals who are here. Distinguished guests, esteemed partners, ladies and gentlemen, it is with profound honor and privilege that I stand before you today at this very important conference in the construction industry with the theme leveraging the potential of MSMEs and technology for a resilient and sustainable construction industry. This conference marks a significant step in supporting MSMEs in realizing their full potential across the economy, and specifically the construction industry. Micro, small, and medium-sized enterprises are vital in achieving sustainable development goals. They are an important element of SDGs, SDG 8 and SDG 9. That is, of course, decent work and economic growth, together with industry innovation and infrastructure. Kenya's economy heavily relies on MSME sector, and we've heard from our principal secretary. And you know, Susan is one of the youngest principal secretaries, and I really like the way she handles her docket, which provides employment to millions, spurs innovation, and contributes significantly to the GDP. However, the sector is often faced with challenges, including limited access to finance, inadequate infrastructure, regulatory and compliance constraints, limited market access, and stiff competition, skills and capacity gaps. In technological challenges, we know that, and weak institutional support and networking. The MSME sector is among the prioritized sectors under the better model that which aims to bring down the cost of living, eradicate hunger, create jobs, expand the tax base, improve the country's foreign exchange balance, as well as inclusive growth. The bottom-up economic transformation agenda envisages the micro, small, and medium enterprises sector to be a catalyst in the creation of employment and livelihood opportunities, particularly for the poor, the marginalized groups. The government has supported the growth of MSMEs through initiatives aimed at creating a conducive environment for MSMEs to thrive. Despite the support, MSME survey report for 2016 indicated that an average of 46.3% establishments closed within the first year of operation, and I think that has not really changed today. Empowering MSMEs requires collective action involving governments, businesses, civil society, and international organizations. We cannot solely count on MSMEs to continue their work in achieving the SDGs without supportive policies and guidelines for their growth. MSMEs need a framework anchored in a stable, consistent policy environment that promotes their growth. Within the context of the affordable housing program, under the bottom-up economic transformation agenda, the sector has employed close to 200,000. My numbers are at 160 without inclusion of the current procurements that we are closing. 160,000 construction workers and contractors. The architects, engineers, quantity surveyors, and other professionals have been directly engaged in this remarkable program, and therefore the construction sector has and is still contributing to the development of MSMEs in large scale. I think I should be a very good darling of the sector, because we are creating jobs. Distinguished guests, and of course the professionals. No work can continue in this industry without the professionals, and take it from me as a lawyer, I insist on quality, and quality and standards cannot be assured or achieved without applying the skills and experiences of our professionals, fully qualified people. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, the recently launched National Building Code 2024 provides for building standards that support the development of the climate resilience infrastructure. The code incorporates measures to address the impacts of climate change, ensuring that infrastructure projects are designed and constructed to withstand climate-related stresses. The inclusion of hazard maps in the code enhances the assessment of climate risks in the design and construction of our infrastructure. The building code embraces the green building standards in various aspects, and therefore enhancing the sustainability of the built environment. So some of these salient features form part of the discussion in this conference. And I hope you put the proper emphasis in the green built area, and how we can continue to have technology also support in that respect. But mainly, we need houses that take care of the green environment. In promotion and adoption of climate change, I attended the Buildings and Climate Global Forum in Paris between 4th and 9th of March this year. As a result of this engagement in Paris, the following progress has been achieved as a follow-up. National Stakeholders Consultative Forum on Buildings and Climate Change in Kenya that took place on 5th of May 2024 to develop comprehensive sector roadmap for achieving a decarbonized and sustainable future in Kenya's building sector by 2050. The Ministry of Lands, Public Works, Housing and Urban Development is drafting currently a national policy on sustainable buildings and public works development, formulation of building standards and control aimed at performance, resilience, and safety of buildings. And I have heard Senator Asigi in terms of non-compliance in allowing buildings to be constructed, designed, constructed, and completed and occupied without facilities for persons with disability, especially in terms of people who cannot climb stairs. You know, basically we still have those buildings today. So I think National Construction Authority, there is a job there for you, and we need to crack the whip, or the whips. The Conference on Climate Change in the built environment held on 15th of May at Safari Park, and then zeroed in on zero emission, efficient and resilient buildings in the construction sector, and came up with the following resolutions: accelerated call to action on decarbonization and the need to develop a decarbonized roadmap for the country. Then accelerate and support policy reforms which include legal and institutional frameworks. And then we also agreed as a resolution that we will develop green taxonomy guidelines. That is a scientific word, setting up technical working groups, because you cannot move forward without technical supporting groups to do the work, and then organize an annual conference in this regard in 2025, and finally develop an implementation framework. This progress made has been carefully factored into this year's conference to move forward the agenda we have to transform the construction industry. And then we also, on-time delivery of documentation and contracts has been recognized as a crucial requirement for the successful delivery of projects. And I know this is a very sticky area. I have heard my sister has never won a tender because in the first place there is maybe knowledge gaps, you know. Of course, other tendencies there, you know, bad practices, and the language barriers in terms of understanding the documentation. Indeed, I think we should now looking at public works, because you are the one who have been dealing with the supply chain issues. There is a push by this government to make procurement tenders, those documentations, to be done online through ICT. We need to use technology so that we can reduce human interaction. I know reducing human interaction in this case does not mean you reduce labor. It just means that, especially the negative interaction, that's where kitu kidogo comes in. And so if you are working with the tools, like, you know, you are interacting with the technology there, you take your answers in there. I think what we need is to ensure that this is fast-tracked, and I can confirm that the government is working on this, and we should be achieving it in a shorter while. I know that the law requires maybe to be looked into to be able to support that. You know, even these issues of receipts and invoices and BQs, which are complicated. I think the QSs can make these documents simpler, language that we can understand, because I believe what is important is actually your ability in terms of what capacity you have, who are the professionals in your company, are you able to access money? Na tumesema kama serikali, then we should even enable you to access money to do the job. So if your financial capacity is also being supported by the government. The rest are details, because you just then need to be able to apply the right professionals. And I think advocates are part of the problem, because I know I'm an advocate, and those documents finally must be given a tick by the Attorney General and the advocates for the government. So all this area needs to be made easier, to be made simpler, so that we can have more access to business instead of one person getting 10 jobs. And I have never myself attempted to get a job. I better do what I know best. So those tenders, of course, now at our level, we cannot go for those because there will be conflict of interest. But what I'm saying, even before, when I did not have conflict of interest, I preferred to represent those people who are not happy because of the process. The progress made has been carefully factored into this year's conference to move forward the agenda. I have said that. And therefore, I'm looking at the new now way we are going, smart contracts or smart contracting, smart contracts. And that means the AI becomes a very critical tool or technology for us. We need, therefore, to also move very quickly on the law, because I was seeing that the advocates will start maybe blocking it, because if we remove their interaction there, they will also feel that economically, you are breaching their constitutional right to work in an area where we have trained them as advocates. So we need to have the law that will finally, because I think the advocates there is no barrier for advocates not to use smart contracts. What is happening is that we are saying we make the work easy, where the signature of the advocate will be required. Then, because advocates believe in a stamp and a signature, and courts are still operating the way they operate, and therefore we need the law to support technology. The use of smart contracts is highlighted as a suitable novel technology to expedite contract processes. I will not say anything beyond that, and therefore I personally support any time when work becomes more efficient, clearer, faster, then we should support and look for gaps that exist that would hinder the movement forward. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, infrastructure investment services is a critical foundation for sustainable economic development, continues to be also a challenge, and we believe that that's an area that requires a lot of financial support, legislative and financial support. Improving transportation, energy, water, and communication networks catalyzes productivity, connectivity, and growth. However, recent climate change impacts, such as increasing temperatures, shifting patterns of precipitation or temperature rises or increases, increased intensity and recurrence of extreme weather events, rising sea levels, have highlighted vulnerability of infrastructure systems, resulting in disruptions and substantial losses. And this year, of course, and last year, Kenya has sufficient knowledge and information of how bad it can be. By building climate resilient infrastructure, these projects can withstand and adapt to these climate-related changes, including, of course, the buildings. I'm told some countries' buildings can be hit by earthquakes, even to the scale of 7.5 Richter scale, and they still remain standing. I pray God that doesn't come to Kenya, at least not now, because our buildings may not withstand that. So that is an area that we need to really think through. Distinguished guests and ladies and gentlemen, the construction industry has long been considered as a conservative and traditional industry, but is now experiencing technological revolution. I heard our CEO saying the contractors should embrace research and technology. And because when you asked for contractors to stand, I think the numbers do not support the number of contractors we know are working in the sector, because no construction can be done without contractors. So we need to involve them in conferences of this magnitude. AI has the potential to bring fundamental change and innovation to every step of the construction process. The potential of AI presents new challenges to the construction sector in areas such as architectural design, engineering design, building services, and you understand that better. I know there are those old tools and equipments, technology that you used when you are being trained, and we keep on now having to ask for new technology, new equipments, because technology has changed or is ahead of us. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, the business case for inclusion and diversity is stronger than ever. For diverse firms, the likelihood of outperforming industry peers on profitability has increased over time, while the penalties are getting steeper for those lacking in diversity. Progress on representation has been slow, yet a few firms are making real strides. A close look at these diversity winners show that a systematic and business-led approach, bold, concerted action on inclusion is needed to make progress. The experience of diversity winners suggests that it is time to be bold in deploying a systematic approach to inclusion and diversity, and purposely or purposefully tackling the question of inclusion. And when we talk of inclusion, you know, we have also constitutional thresholds that in every sector, you know, women, youth, and persons living with disability need to be seen, not by way of tokenism, but quotas included in our constitution. And you know, those quotas should not be less. For women, is not less than 33%. Other persons with disability, I don't want to say, I think we all know the quotas. They need to speak more than our words, and therefore this is still a challenge. In closing, let me emphasize my profound gratitude to NCA for organizing this conference to enable the construction industry to discuss the fundamental and emerging issues in the construction industry. I want to encourage you to stay in to the end of the conference. I also want to thank our partners, keynote speakers that are present, and those who will come after we have opened the conference, panelists, moderators, paper presenters, discussants, exhibitors. I will see a few of those, and participants for finding time to participate in this conference. Truly, we cannot manage a conference without participants, the speakers. It's a lot of work to prepare papers, and you are here. It is my appeal to the construction industry to take advantage of this conference to exhaustively discuss and come up with the solutions that can be implemented for the benefit of the industry. And where you require my ministry to stand out, to support, to facilitate, let me know. I believe that my ministry is key in ensuring that the barriers that have existed are cleared, and we have a better playing field for all of us in this industry. Of course, noting that we also need this research. The theme today on research is critical because we need to speak to materials that are cost effective, that we withstand weather, that are green climate, compliant, and therefore, and of course, in the designs also need to be approved, to be accepted, and therefore we will work with you in this industry, because when I speak here, I'm not speaking to the staff at the ministry, I'm speaking to the industry. But we need the industry to be also bold, to come out clearly, to continue applying professionalism. If you recall, if you followed the vetting, one of the questions I didn't have a good answer to, maybe I scored 30 or something during the vetting of this now current job. I was asked why the construction buildings, why the buildings still collapse, and what I'm doing about the collapsing buildings. And so I quickly returned that question to Kenyans and our professionals. And I said, as regulators, we need the support of Kenyans, and we need the support of the owners of the construction. But most importantly is that the professionals must reach a point where if the owner of the project is not allowing you to work within the regulations,
that is CS Alice Wahome, who's the CS of Lands, Public Works, Urban Development and Housing. They are speaking during the National Construction Summit that is happening in Coast. Of course, they've talked about a number of things, but one good thing to note is the fact that they are planning to leverage on MSMEs to develop the sector, and of course, the fact that they plan to use smart, sustainable practice that will equally help boost that construction sector. I hope you've been adequately informed. That's all we had for you here on News Desk. I'm Ashley Mazuri. Enjoy the rest of your viewing.